Hey everybody, my name is Sierra Smith and this is going to be my narrative speech for public speaking. Let's go ahead and dive right in. I was 30,000 feet up in the air and I was more comfortable knowing that I could plunge at my death at any given minute rather than what I was going to be facing once I got to the Atlanta airport and meet my dad. I was 17 years old and I had gotten word out where my dad lived and wrote him a letter and wanted to meet him. My dad had went to work one day when I was 5 years old and never came home. So I grew up without my dad. So it was a big emotional moment to be booking a flight to go to Chattanooga, Tennessee and to meet him and learn about him and kind of get some answers to some of the questions that I had. I said goodbye to my mother. I was very scared. I went by myself and I got on my flight and I took my seat at the window. And there was a middle seat and then there was one towards the aisle. And a stranger who forever will impact my life, and I hope I did the same for him, sat towards the aisle. I was so nervous. When I'm nervous, I tend to talk a lot. And I was sweaty and clammy and shaky, opening up my pretzels. And the gentleman asked me and said, "Hey, are you going to Chattanooga to see some friends for spring break or whatnot?" Just trying to make small talk with me. Well, I looked at him and I said, "No, I'm on the way to meet my dad." Word vomit. And the look in his eyes was just like, "Oh, what?" You know? Anyway, he asked and listened and I told him the story on how my dad went to work and how I thought a gator had ate him because I was 5. And how I wrote this letter that I worked so hard to prepare for and sent it and got this answer, and how I was on my way to meet him. He had a whole new family and I would be meeting all of them for the first time, and I was very scared but very excited and I just told him all about it. The man never told me his name. We never exchanged names at all, and we sat there, and for that good hour and a half he listened to me just talk about my life and how I was so scared and how this moment had come to play. Well, when we got there, I walked off the airplane and looked for my dad, which the picture I had, and didn't see him. And if you're coming into Atlanta Airport for the first time, it's pretty intimidating because it's huge. It's an international airport, so it's not like my little Fort Lauderdale airport that I was used to going in and out of. So I walked out and looked around and went, "Oh my gosh, where am I?" And that man looked back at me and he said, "Do you see him?" And I said, "No." I was terrified. So the plan was my dad would be there when I walked off the airplane, but he was not. So here, this complete stranger who could have totally hacked me up into 1,000,001 pieces just was like, "He's probably at baggage claim. You got to get on a terminal to get to baggage claim." And I'm like, "A terminal? What?" So this man's like, "Come on, follow me." And I'm like, "Please don't kill me." So I followed him, and the anticipation was just building because I knew that moment that I had waited for, that I wished for birthday parties and for any type of flipping coins into fountains. This moment I had wished for my entire life. And it was finally going to happen. And I didn't have the support of my mom there with me. I had to be strong all on my own, and I was only 17 and just terrified. So we jump on this terminal, and I'm holding onto the pole, and I'm like, I can't breathe. I'm so nervous, thinking my dad's going to be at baggage claim for me. And as I stood there, I'll never forget the words that this complete stranger said to me. "You're strong and you're going to be okay. And you should be really proud of yourself." And those words have always stuck with me because a complete stranger was being my support and my backbone in the biggest moment of my life. The terminal doors, or not terminal, they opened and we, walked off of the tram and made that corner turn and saw people holding up signs welcoming their loved ones, and I just kept walking behind this stranger who I had talked to. And as I was walking, I heard the voice of a little boy go, "Sierra?" And that was my brother. At the time, he was, I think, about 5, and my stepmother was standing there. And I remember just going over and shaking hands and meeting them. And after our introduction, which was very awkward, my dad was not there, as we went to leave, I looked back towards the baggage claim where that man was with his family. And he picked up a 2-year-old girl and gave her a big hug. And he looked over at me. It's like we had met our eyes and just kind of went, a nod that would tell me that I impacted his life and that I showed him what it was like to grow up without a dad and have that figure be absent. And it was kind of like a look into the future if he was to do that to his own. He was my backbone and my support, and I was his look into what could be if he wasn't there. I'll never meet that man again in my life. I don't even know the name of him, but I remember that story as clear as day. I'm 26 years old now, about to be 27, and that was 17, and I always think back to that man and what he did for me and what I did for him. Pretty inspirational. I think we were both put there on that flight at that time for a reason. And I don't normally believe in coincidences or whatnot, but I definitely feel like that was meant to be. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you.